It was a beautiful day with the sun shining bright, the birds chirping and the wind gently swaying the branches above me. I was all of 5 or 6 years old and playing outside. Using the side of my hand, I carved dirt roads for the Hot Wheel I was playing with. I was at one of my uncle's houses, enjoying a moment, just me and my toy car. My uncle lived in a rural area. There were wide open fields, blackberry bushes, and walnuts to eat. He was an avid hunter and loved the outdoors and the freedom he felt there. When he wasn't catching fish or skinning a buck, he was jamming out with his band, slamming some cold ones. I looked up to my uncles. I was lucky to have them in my life. They softened the blow of not having a father, and for that I'm thankful. They were the disciplinarians of the family, and I viewed everything they said as gospel. No families are perfect. Mine suffered from a long history of drug and alcohol abuse. Some sobered up due to medical issues, and others for their children. But many are still in the throes of drugs, violence, and alcoholism. I don't believe anyone makes a conscious decision to become a drug addict, an alcoholic, or an ex-con. Circumstances and how you react to them determine your outcome. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But how you respond to any given problem depends on the information available to you, right? The law of instrument reminds us, if the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. When alcoholics confront a problem, they drink. When people with an addiction confront a problem, they use. Sometimes, the problem is hidden deep within one's soul, buried under reckless behaviors and destructive thinking patterns. The little girl who experienced abandonment may, as a woman, suffer from anxiety or jump from one relationship to another. The fatherless may seek acceptance and validation from unhealthy role models or pernicious personality types. Like animals, humans develop traits and characteristics that enhance survival or improve position within our environment and families. We build tools, behaviors to navigate challenging family dynamics and neighborhoods that hinder progress. We carry these into adulthood without realizing they may sabotage our progress in life. I found myself in many undesirable situations, wallowing in the mud with those just as miserable and mean as I was. Broken and alone, and during a time of ruthless self-analysis, I identified a recurring theme in my downfalls and tried to understand its root cause. It may not have been the first time I used this tool, but it clearly demonstrated its formation. I had mapped out a windy racetrack in the dirt and was pushing my Hot Wheel along when I heard my uncle shout for me. I ran up to his front porch. On it was a 55-gallon barrel. He motioned for me to look inside. I gripped the barrel and got on my tippy toes and peeked over the edge. There it was. At the bottom of the barrel was a fluffy white rabbit eating some lettuce that was thrown in there. I was ecstatic. My uncle got me a pet rabbit. The first thing I thought was, I'm gonna pick out a name for him. But before I knew it, my uncle kicked a milk crate under my feet and shoved a shotgun to my chest and said, "Shoot it." What? I didn't want to harm this rabbit. I mean, I still watched Bugs Bunny, for crying out loud. The shotgun weighed a ton. He said, "Now hold the stock tightly to your shoulder. It's going to kick back some, so aim and hold tight." I looked down and saw that the rabbit was still enjoying his brunch. I couldn't believe this was happening. I looked up at my uncle. He sensed my apprehension and nodded toward the rabbit. I lifted the shotgun and fixed it on this helpless animal who didn't know he was enjoying his last meal. I stared down that barrel for what seemed like an eternity. Every detail of that rabbit seemed to come alive. Its shifty pink nose, rapid moving belly, and erect ears. I rocked back from the force of the blast and immediately heard ringing in my ears. My uncle took the shotgun out of my hands as I looked at the carnage at the bottom of the barrel. What used to be a rabbit was now a bloody mass of twitching flesh, shattered bones, and shredded organs. I couldn't hear what my uncle was saying, but I didn't have to. His face said it all. When I looked up through the bits of white fur still floating in the air, he looked at me like I had taken down a grizzly with my bare hands. It was intoxicating. My uncle's approval meant more to me than that rabbit's life. I did something I didn't want to do to gain the approval of someone I looked up to. And that's where this monster began to rear its ugly head. Throughout my life, there was no shortage of stages where I can act out my new skill. Later in life, it developed into overriding my conscience, doing what I knew to be wrong to gain the approval of people I admired. Whether I was committing acts of violence against authority figures or adversaries, under the tattoos and permanent frown, I've always been that scared kid with the shotgun. I'm not blaming my uncle or anyone for that matter. The Apostle Paul wrote in the book of Galatians, "For we are each responsible for our own conduct." Blaming the past or the way you were raised gives away your power to change and develop. I'm simply sharing the artifacts I uncovered from my psychological excavation in hopes the next time you find yourself anywhere but where you want to be, evaluate the behavior that got you there. In life, we'll all face difficulties and challenges. Like you, I want to meet those challenges with the advantage of the right tool, the right mindset, and the proper disposition. The tools of survival must give way to the tools of advancement and prosperity. I no longer desire validation at my own peril. I've identified and unearthed buried trauma and applied the healing balm of God's love and acceptance to my soul. Recently, my 18-month-old granddaughter and I were relaxing, searching for something to watch on TV. I found some old cartoons and put them on for us. I wanted to see if Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd's rivalry would capture her attention. We watched as Bugs Bunny plugged Elmer Fudd's shotgun with his fingers, and the shot backfired, blackening Elmer's face with gunpowder residue. We both smiled as we watched the rabbit outsmart the little man with the shotgun.